Welcome back to Brashonomics. I'm Ben Brashin, and we are lucky enough to have Don Rushton join us, who's been a top 1% producer in the Northwest Multiple Listings Service consistently for the past 20 years. Don, how are you?
I'm great, Ben. How are you?
I'm excellent. I was just talking at the top of the hour about people who have to pick certain paths that they choose to go on, whether it's in life or real estate or finance. And sometimes opportunities present themselves when it comes to selling a house that really can make big differences in the rest of their life. Again, with housing and finance really being, and of course, stress. In a market like we have today that's really picking up, picking the best offer can be a really big piece of that because, as you've talked about, brokers are actually reporting multiple offers on a lot of these properties because there's not a lot of inventory. Are you experiencing this?
Yeah, even in South King County, we're finding that activities increased manyfold over the last even 6 months, and we're getting multiple offers on many properties, and it's a completely different climate, and you really have to set the tone for that when you're talking to sellers about selling. It's nice to finally sit down with people and for the first time in years actually be able to give them some good news.
Yeah. So then how do you prepare your sellers for this?
Well, I always try to explain, no matter what the market climate is, when we meet for the first time, and I take a walk through their house and make my notes. I come back a second time and we look at my analysis, what I recommend on price and what they can do to prepare the house. I also talk to them about the market, whether it's good, bad, changing, in flux. If maybe listening to their situation, it might be a good idea for them to wait a bit, or if they need to be in a bigger hurry than they think they need to be based on circumstances. Mm-hmm. So I want them to know what might happen, how long I think it'll take to sell based on what's going on. And a lot of times people are really surprised, even though they are exposed to the news and read the papers, that even in their own neighborhood, they can expect a lot of showings in a very short amount of time, and that may result in multiple offers.
Mm-hmm. So when people get these multiple offers, or at least they hear about them, I guess you could call this like the bidding up of prices. Does that get people to does it tempt them to maybe go beyond your recommendations when they get excited about what's in the media?
Yeah, I think they're still, for the most part, more surprised that this might happen. But over time, I know, because I've been in situations like this before, they will start wanting to push at that price. And
guess who wouldn't?
Well, of course, yeah. And that's my job, is to get, I don't want them to leave any money on the table, but I don't want them to overprice and put themselves into a position where they might end up getting less than they would have if they priced it right in the first place.
How does that happen? I mean, if you're pricing it, if you're going to push the price up a little bit, how does that hurt you if there's, I've heard anywhere from 1 to 2 months of inventory?
Well, in any market, no matter what the average market time is, and I work in South King County, Maple Valley, Covington, East Kent, the average market time for homes right now is about 20 days, believe it or not.
That is pretty quick.
It is amazing. So whether it's 5 days average time on market or 60, when you get to the point that you've doubled the average time in market, buyers start shying away from your house and wondering why it hasn't sold yet. So if you're in a neighborhood where houses are selling in days and you've been on the market for weeks, it lessens the chance that you're going to get a full price offer.
Yeah. Do you tend to think that when people are trying to get the most, obviously, for their house, there's oftentimes these strategies of we're going to review offers on a certain date because you kind of get them all in? And is that how a lot of these multiple offers start to originate, why people are getting them? Why do people do this? And is there any reasons that it's a bad idea?
Well, that is a strategy that some people, I think it seems to be happening more on the east side, where they'll list a house and say, we will be reviewing offers on this date. They're so confident they're going to get multiple offers. That confidence can kind of backfire sometimes. Mm-hmm. That's one of the problems. But for me, in my market, in the way I like to work things is I would rather take offers as they come in. And the activity that we get a lot of times will predict how many offers we're getting in. But I have a house that I put on the market last week. In 72 hours, we had 15 showings in 3 days. These poor people. They might as well just moved out. But that resulted in only one offer. So what that tells me is that the market has spoken, and this might be their best offer. So I always tell people, you go to half of the average time on market, or 12 offers, whichever happens first. And that pretty much tells you if you don't have an offer by then, you might have to make a move, even if that's only a week into the whole process. So by putting people off, the things that can go wrong with that is a lot of buyers just do not want to get involved in that. So, and they don't think it's especially fair. If they saw the house the first day it came on the market and you're going to wait 5 or 6 days and let their offer, a lot of times they'll just pull their offer. And that might have been the best offer. So I think everybody wants to be treated fairly. It's a big decision for them. So I try to, and for my own reputation and to be professional with the other agents, I try to take the offers as they come and not purposely let them pull up.
Is there, and I would imagine there's some truth to that even beyond simply because everybody is pretty active who's a real home buyer right now. It's not like people are meandering and it takes a week to go see that house.
Right. Yeah. People are on their toes right now. They're targeting neighborhoods. I'm sending letters through certain neighborhoods that I know I have people looking. And when we get a lot of activity right away on a house, it's generally because supply is low and demand is high. It's pent-up interest. So those people that are first through the door are most likely to pay the most for the house.
So when you have people who are willing to pay more for houses, you have situations where there's multiple offers. Does that really mean that the bottom is past us? And I mean, we've seen in the Seattle Times, we've seen in multiple reports that prices are going up. Do you think homeowners can expect that to continue?
I think it's going to happen. I think we have found the bottom and we'll probably bounce along it. There'll be areas that will, it'll take them a little longer to recover. Supply is going to continue to be low because there are so many people still underwater who would love to sell, but they can't. And a lot of people who are waiting out these foreclosures that can take years, and they're sitting in their houses. So the bank-owned properties are starting to dry up, and all those factors are creating this shortage. But what's keeping the lid on our values right now is appraisals. As you know, the financial market has made a lot of changes, especially with mortgages, and they've made more rules and regulations, or they're enforcing rules and regulations that they had in the past that by not enforcing them, put us in the situation we're in. Mm-hmm. So the appraisers, you can get a property bid up 10% higher than your asking price. Then here comes the appraiser, and it's low. And you have to start it all over again, the process all over again.
Dawn, when people start to have to make those decisions on best value, or I guess highest price, versus what the house could actually appraise for, that obviously puts a lot of different factors into really selecting the right offer. Because, as you said, it's maybe not as simple as just the highest price, simply because the house may not appraise, which could really put a damper in somebody's financing. What other offers, I guess, besides that price, should a seller really be taking into consideration when choosing between the multiple offers that may come in?
Well, let's say you have 3 offers, and they might all be the same price, but they might have different earnest money amounts. The way the earnest money is held, whether it's in the form of a promissory note or if it's cash that's going to be held by the broker or the escrow company, those things are important. What's important to me as a professional is who is that other agent and who is the other lender? Do I know the other agent? What is their reputation? Do they have experience? That is going to be my co-op person through this transaction, and their knowledge and skill with working with their buyer is going to help myself and my seller into a smoother transaction than if it's somebody that is doesn't have the experience or has a reputation of being difficult to work with. Mm-hmm. So those things are important. And then the approval letter itself, everybody comes with a pre-approval letter. But who wrote it? And what does it actually say? Mm-hmm. So with experience, you know who the lenders are that are going to take it to the finish line and what you want this letter to say. You want some really specific language in it. You want it to be, this family is approved to purchase this house, subject only to an appraisal and a title policy on the house. So that's the kind of language you want. So there's a lot of subtleties. Sometimes it comes right down to almost flipping a coin. And more often than not, what a seller knows about the buyer when they're choosing, whether it's, where they're coming from or, what their goals are or why they chose this house, will really help a buyer win the house. Because if all the offers seem the same, but they have a warm and fuzzy feeling towards the other agent or the other, one of the buyers in particular, then that could sway them to taking that offer. So all these factors come to play. It's not just the price every time.
Dawn, we just have about a minute left. And again, we're here with Dawn Rushton with RE/MAX Select Real Estate. Before people get multiple offers or get any offers, they have to determine if it's the right time for them to sell their house. How do you help people make that decision?
Well, mostly by listening. People that call me to say, hey, we're thinking of selling our house, one of my first questions is, where are you going? So to try to help them know what their motivation is, because sometimes for them it's not always clear. Sometimes it's crystal clear. It's a divorce or someone's passed away and it's a true need. But sometimes they just want to get from point A to point B. And I need as much information as I can get to make sure that this is something that they truly want to do and that they really can financially do. And whether or not it's the right time. There's a lot of information that I try to gather so that I can give them as best advice as I can.
Sure, and Dawn, I mean, as we all know, there's a lot of information out there. Part of it is just dissecting it into being the best information that's most pertinent to a person. Yeah, well, hey, Dawn, thanks so much for joining us again. That's Dawn Rushton with RE/MAX Select. When we come back, we started this show talking about all the different ways people can improve their life through real estate and finance. We're going to continue on that conversation with Dr. Kristen Allett when we come back. You're listening to Brashonomics.